And can you hold on a minute?
Yes, we'll hold on for a minute.
All right, it's a minute. Okay. So hello everyone, once again, and I assume that you're all excellent once again. So if you can hear me, please indicate yes in the chat. Okay, so um, we are exploring concepts of trillionaires. Let me lay the foundation of a concept for you again, because this is important. However, the concept you're looking at learning today is the concept of winning, which I posted about also on Facebook. The concept of winning. But to be sure, we're all talking about the same thing when it comes to concepts. You see, concepts determine what you see and how you experience stuff. A concept, for example, the house you're living in, is a concept. It it is a concept that, of course, first drawn up on paper and then established as a physical structure. Every aspect and part of it, okay, was built and developed according to that initial concept that was got. Now you're looking at the whole finished thing. But if it started only as a concept, then it still is a concept. All right? So it still is a concept if it started as one. But in fact, it's more than just the concept that's drawn up on paper. It's first in the mind. Because you have this image in your mind, this idea of how it should be, right? That compelled you to experience it, to think of things in a certain way. Because you're thinking of, say, your home or say water when you want to quench your thirst. You're particularly at that time not thinking about desert, right? You're not thinking about desert. Or you're not thinking about um say sand, because your idea at the moment is water for your thirst. So that is the nature and story of concepts. They influence what you see, what you think, and how you um, act and behave. Okay, to finalize the example. So about 3 days ago, something happened here with me. So my earbuds, the case, they appeared to be missing. Well, I looked for them everywhere I could, but I didn't find them. And I just went, oh my goodness, I've got the pods themselves, but not the earbuds. And I told my wife, I said, I don't know, I think I'd lost the earbuds case. Didn't know how that happened because I thought I kept it in my bag and now I couldn't find it. So she went, oh, really? Okay, let me check in the bag. So she searched the bag for me. Then my sister searched the bag for me, but they didn't see it. Well, I thought I had searched it thoroughly. I just didn't see this thing. It's so easy you can't miss it, right? Up until yesterday, and then sometime in the afternoon, like late afternoon towards evening, I was about to pick something up. Then I went to myself, I can't hold the concept of losing things. I didn't lose this, right? So soon as held that concept, I can't hold the concept of losing things. So I didn't lose this. I've got it. I had an image in my mind of simply having it, even from when I told my wife it was lost, but rather that I had it all the way. So just a flash. After I refused to keep accepting the concept that it was lost and rather held on to the concept it was preserved. It's my thing. So keeps being in place. Then I got out and I was going out. So I took my bag to the car. Now I asked my driver to drive me off. So I wanted to pick my cable from my backpack so I could charge my phone in the car. And then guess what I saw? When I saw this case, I even thought it was like one of the little earbuds that got around because I have two others that I use to listen to Neville's lectures um, throughout the day. They have longer battery life. They don't have particularly great audio quality, but they're good for our voice. So yeah, I use them to listen to Neville's lectures. And then I thought it was one of those. And I went, oh, good. So I wanted to bring it out, only to discover it was the same case. The same case in the same place, the very exact place that my wife actually looked for it thoroughly. So if I was the only person who had looked for it, we could say, oh, well, maybe I missed it, or perhaps I was just being mouthful or something, whatever anyone wants to think. But my wife looked for it. Okay, I went upstairs when I got back home. I went upstairs, and for about 10 minutes that I was lying down upstairs, she was looking for it. My sister looked for it, and they didn't find this thing. And then there it was, just right there. As I entered the car and opened the backpack, it was right in there. That's the nature of concepts. My concept was so powerful that it actually covered the eyes of my wife from seeing the case, even when it was right there in front of them, and that of my sisters too. Now, when I opened my concept into that of security and preservation, the same place I found it there. And that's what we mean by concepts. So if you have the concept of a trillionaire, the concepts that a trillionaire has, well, you are going to actually discover and see trillions in your actual daily life. It's just like that. It's like the thing is there, but you don't see it because you don't have the concept yet. But the moment you have the concept, you begin to see it. And in fact, you can't stop seeing it. You can, how would you like that? They can stop yourself from, from winning, from having success. Because then that's the concept for today. Winning. That's our concept this session. So winning is a specific concept that contradicts the idea of losing. And of course, not particularly losing stuff as in it got lost, but losing as in to fail to accomplish an objective. A lot of people have, well, you could have that concept. You could have the concept of winning or the concept of losing, but they are mutually exclusive. Now, in imagination, losing comes through a set of internal concepts to itself, such as, hold on, I want to, okay, yeah, good. So, such as the concept of excuses, okay, having excuses, having an explanation, having a justification for how this thing happened. Well, when the earbuds were lost, when the case was lost. I had an explanation. I could say, well, I got here, I did this, I thought I put it in the bag. I was sure I really put it in the bag, but now I can be sure again. Perhaps it's dropped, perhaps I didn't. I had an explanation. I had a way to think about it, to see it, because I was really accepting that concept of having lost the earbuds. The moment I changed that concept, well, I saw the earbuds. I saw the case. So the first thing it does have the concept of losing is excuses, which means when you look into the concept of winning, you won't find excuses in them. That's the first thing. There are no excuses. So if there are no excuses, and well, of course, nature happens a vacuum. So what would fill the place in a person's mind? What would fill the place in your head, in your mind, of what excuses used to occupy? The moment you remove excuses from your life, well, what would fill it is the story of results. That's what would fill it. The story of results. You're gonna have a lot of stories to share about the results, about actually getting it, actually having it. The story of results. The story of results to a person who has the concept of losing is such a strange idea. They probably never even consider it. And if they ever consider it, they don't see themselves as such a person who could, well, do that. How am I going to do that? Where am I going to start from? Having results having results and talking about it, they would also write it off as, that's something that proud people do, or that's not something to do if you love God, or that's not something to do if you're a good person, because that would be like rubbing it in for other people. Well, how about winners? They actually believe that others are also winning. So if you tell them the stories of your results, or if you tell yourself for that matter, it's not pride. It's not an exceptional thing. Everyone is winning. So yeah, come on. I tell you my story, you tell me yours, we're both happy. By telling you my story, you're definitely going to love it. That's winners, right? That's one. Another is the concept for losers is often distraction from the outcome desired. Distraction from the outcome desired. To a person who's losing, okay, they simply find it more comfortable to actually go here and there on 1,000 other things that are not related to the very outcome desired than to simply stick to the one outcome that is desired. That's losing. But when this person switches to the concept of winning, well, there is focus on the outcome desired, even if that means giving up all else, if all else is distracting. That doesn't mean that you've got to give up all else in order to feel that you're focused. No. But if all else is distracting, then the winner is ready to completely let go of placing attention on them, to put all that attention on winning, on the objective to be accomplished. So the winner focuses on results. And of course, this means anything that does not have to do with it. That's another concept or another idea contained in the concept of winning. And finally, another idea contained in the concept of winning is the idea we've mentioned, vision. Winners have vision. Well, that's simply focusing on the idea, but in the sense, they actually go to the very finished idea. They just wonder what it's going to be like to already produce that outcome, whether knowingly or unknowingly. If you listen to a number of, say, billionaires talking about the next thing they would love to do, you see them talking with the passion of what it would be like if they had done it and people are benefiting from it already. Say, oh, we're inventing driverless cars. Now you see them talking, they don't talk in terms of the obstacles, like, okay, we're limited in the technology, we're limited in the, in the process, we're limited in the operations, we're limited in the budgets. No, they don't talk about those. They talk about the way the vision would be or the vision they see of what it is like when that thing is already in place, such as, oh yeah, with with the right technology, with the driverless car makes everyone go from home to work at this pace, this rate, in this manner, and we can have an economy that operates this way. We can have traffic become much less, or traffic congestion become much less. This happens, that happens, all right, and you see them discussing it in such a manner that they are seeing it from the very end. Winning actually produces that. A lot of winners, and I'm not just talking about money now. Go and look at winners in um, the Olympics, winners in soccer, in football, winners in different kinds of sports. Okay, look at them, and you'll see that oftentimes they talk from the perception of a person or the perspective of a person who has already finished the very objective they would like to achieve. Now they win and the rest of the world see that. When they're talking about it though, you can tell that prior to even starting, they were seeing the very end. They were seeing what it was like to have won, to have accomplished that objective, or to have realized that goal. That's another thing present in winning. They have no excuses. Winners have no excuses. Winners do not love to give explanations for why it didn't happen, how it failed, what made it not work out. No, winners don't do that. All right, that's number one. And number two, winners give up all distractions to concentrate all their attention on the passion. The more their attention is required by the passion, the more they're willing to give up every other thing that might take that attention and simply devote all that energy to the passion. That's number two. And number three, winners always talk from the vision. They do not talk from the reactive posture to life or from an attitude that is directed, controlled, and governed by external factors. Winners do not do that. They always come from the very end, from the position of what it's like for the perfect outcome to have happened in their lives. That's winners. With all of what we've just seen right now, and of course, the last thing I just mentioned, the vision, in my example of it, you'd see that winners look at how the winning is a positive impact to every stakeholder they can fix in their minds. So they consider how this is a win for them, and how it's a win for others, how it's a win for the world, and that gives them even a bigger courage to win. Even if no one understands what the winning is all about, that gives them a bigger courage to win. You'll see it also in the way I describe what it's like to be rich, for a person to be wealthy. When you're wealthy, you bless not only yourself, but many other people. Even if all you're doing is you're keeping that money in the bank. Say, if you have a lot of money, say you have $2 trillion, and all you decide to do with it is to keep your $2 trillion in your bank. That like, okay, I just want to keep my $2 trillion in my bank. I'm gonna hire anybody. You fire everybody that you ever know. You know what? That money is actually still working so hard because the bank can then loan that money out to other people who are going to have enterprises with it. Or they're going to make money with it. Or going to build businesses with it. Or going to employ people with it. If you didn't have the money working or staying in the bank couldn't loan as much money as that to their customers, and those customers couldn't be able to foster all the visions or all the goals, all the ambitions, the objectives they're able to do with it. But because you've kept that money there, well, they can then go ahead and do all of those stuff. And your money is sitting in the bank. You thought you were trying to keep everyone out of it, but you're in fact involving more. Do you understand? So winning always has that effect, especially when you do it with your imagination. But a winner really considers that. A winner won't say, "Oh well, I block everyone out, so it's only the money is only for me, nobody else." No, a winner will see how anything it considers is still a win-win-win scenario for many people, because that gives him more courage to proceed for the wins, even if it's not understandable to anyone, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone, and even if um, it doesn't look like a thing that could be successful to anybody at the moment. And so, winning is a state of consciousness. But one state of consciousness which trillionaires really love to dwell in. A person cannot be a trillionaire by piling up excuses. On a final note, I want you to contemplate this as we go. In the article that I wrote and put on my Facebook, you would see this kind of an expression that goes something like this. The billionaire or the trillionaire, when they aim for the stars, they don't hope to land on the moon. Anyone here can recall reading something like that? Or at least you've heard of, okay, shoot for the stars. If you don't get it, at least you get on the moon, right? If you're here, you're going, okay, well, I want to imagine being a billionaire or a trillionaire, but at least if I don't make that, I can make millions on the way, so I'll still be okay. Well, that's not the attitude of a billionaire, not the attitude of a trillionaire. Dude, they know exactly where they're landing. Thank you, Scott. That's correct. The attitude of a millionaire, of a billionaire, and of a trillionaire is to have exactly what they'd like to have. Now, that doesn't always happen, or at least not doesn't always happen with respect to the time they want it to happen, which is pretty much the same thing for everybody. Okay, you could want something, you could expect it, hope it happens at a particular time. Oh, is it shoot for the moon and worst case scenario you will land on the stars? Okay, Kaja. Well, I don't want to be familiar with exactly with the right way it is meant to it's meant to be written. Whether shoot for the stars or shoot for the moon. Shoot for the one you want to shoot for and land there. Okay. Land on the right, very right, correct one. It doesn't matter which one is right. Anyway. Okay. So um the idea the idea being that for billionaires, they go for exactly what they want and that's what they achieve. Maybe somewhere there, maybe just which is not something they prepare their minds for. It's not something they try to like they're going, okay, well, if it happens this way, fine. No, it does happen that way because they're not natural with the state yet. Just because you're a trillionaire does not mean that you are automatically natural with all your dreams come true. There's so many varied dreams in your life, in your world. Okay, so you might go, okay, I want to achieve this thing. I want to achieve it by this time, but you're not even natural with it happening twice of that period. You're not even natural with it happening yet. But it's not going to happen at that time. It's still imagination. The money doesn't mean that you create everything automatically. Imagination is still creating all these things. All right. So it's not going to happen. But even when it doesn't, The billion, everyone else goes, oh, well, I tried, it didn't happen. I used the might of my resources, I didn't get anything. Billionaires on the other hand, and trillionaires on the other hand, they go, all right, I still want that exact thing to happen. That exact thing. And so let's keep going for it. And that's where you see a lot of times they keep working on one thing devotedly for a long period of time. And of course, the outcomes are often um, of massive yields. So that is the lesson. And I want you to be aware of it, that winning is the key theme for you to embody from today on. Now, see you all in our next call, um, which is tomorrow. Until then, bye bye.